Hey, welcome to Real Talk, episode 25.
Quarter of a century.
Almost said half of 100. A quarter. 1/4 of 100.
Crazy, man.
Yeah.
Crazy that we're here.
Here we are. We say that every week. You know that, right?
I feel like we've been saying that. I was actually
Since
going
episode 2.
Crazy. I was going through older episodes yesterday, trying to find some stuff to edit with. And I think it was all the way back like 12 or 13.
We were saying it.
Episode 13, we're like, crazy that we're here.
That tells you that we are not confident at all in our continued ability to do this. But hey, we really are here.
Yes.
And I'm not going to say it again, but we're excited. Episode 25, it's a big deal. We've
Really
had a
is.
huge party here to... That's not true. We haven't. But that'd be neat if we did.
We should.
But hey, I'll tell you what. We do have some questions that are pretty real, honestly.
Yeah, that's the way
so
I
that's
put it,
that's
yeah.
exciting for episode 25. I think that's kind of interesting. If you are what is Real Talk? I should start there. Real Talk is an opportunity for us to have real talk and discuss real life issues, faith, God, the Bible, Jesus, all of that. And how does that really come together in our actual day-to-day lives? So we don't promise to have all the answers, but we do promise to do our best to have a real discussion with you, and hopefully, if nothing else, point you to the Bible and to get the truth, because that's where it's at.
Amen.
That's the truth. So, that's where we're at. And I was saying something before that, but I don't remember. So this is unscripted, so we're just going to keep going.
Yep.
Oh, now remember, if you are a regular watcher of our web series, we consider this the web series.
Yes.
And Real Talk Live is sort of its own thing.
That's right.
So, Real Talk web series, if you're a fan of that, would you do us a favor and share this? We have so many people, amazing people, that share our live.
Yes,
I mean, we're talking 20 to 25 per week.
20 to 25 shares.
So if we, the more shares that you get out there, and we don't want you guys, we understand you don't want to do that all the time or whatnot, but if you're very passionate about what we do, and I see you guys share other people's sermons and all that kind of thing, would you share this? Because you never know who it's going to impact.
That's right.
And it's going to help get the message out there. So do us a favor and do that. If you are watching for the first time, or maybe the 8th time for all we know, and haven't liked our page yet, would you go to the Facebook page above and like that?
Yes.
And hit follow, and I think see first.
That's right.
And then it'll pop up on your feed, and we can, we can encourage you. You get updates, etc.
That's right. You can stay up to date with the remnant.
Absolutely. Up above, you're going to see a link. Should be in this video right now. Here I'm looking at it. www.theremnant.live/real-talk. That link is constantly active, 24/7. You hit it. It'll come up a form fillable box. Ask your question, hit submit, boom. It goes anonymously into a database, and we use those.
That's right.
For our discussion. So
Here
we're
they
up
are.
to probably, I think 700.
Did we hit 700?
I mean,
That's
look.
wild.
I'll look. You guys mind
That's
if I pull?
crazy.
Because I'm at the bottom, so we'll look right now.
Sure.
But yeah, so we're just really excited to be here. We do not take that for granted that
We really don't.
we get the opportunity to have these conversations with you. And we usually start out by just kind of saying, hey, man, how's your week been?
I've been wrestling with this idea, of what it means to truly just. It's funny that I'm a part of a web series called Real Talk.
Real quick, sorry.
go
700 exactly.
Wow.
Weird. Hey, there you go. 700 questions.
Club.
Yeah.
Awesome. I thought you said club too for a second. I was like, that's
That's
incredible.
a reference to a show, though. Well
Is it?
played. There's some you've never heard
Is
of
it
the
Bernie Mac actually?
No, it's
I'm
a
not hug.
Christian, some kind of TV series called 700 Club. You've never heard of this?
No.
Wow, that's just a wild reference.
It
then.
is. That's insane. All right. So it's interesting for me to be a part of a web series called Real Talk. And the reason why is because I feel like there's a lot of times where I get caught up in just day to day that I don't make that day to day meaningful or fruitful. So when it comes to being real, I feel like I can come record these with you, but then walk out of it sometimes, not changed by it. Kind of like how, we always say, at church on Sundays, if you walk out of here the same, it's because you're choosing to. So I think lately I felt a little more convicted than usual with, just opening up more and having a, I guess, for lack of a better term, more open line of communication with people, especially even when it's closer to me. I know it's so easy to just get caught up in, how you doing? I'm good, and then you just keep moving on, even if that's not the case.
good.
And it's funny because you even caught me yesterday. We were out to eat, and you were like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, "Nothing, I'm fine."
Yeah, you actually got a little irritated at me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I was like, "Man, why am I like that?" So just feeling convicted because it's like, people can see that, and if they can see that, then obviously, like, you haven't been, doing your part in being a brother or a sister, and putting those burdens in other people because we're called to carry them anyway, or just whatever. So, yeah, I've just been feeling extra convicted to just be more real. I know for me, like, I guess I'll be a little transparent, in front of everybody. Is just I may come off as a person who, and I could be wrong, but most people don't tend to question me in this kind of area in life, which is like AJ just kind of seems like a put together kid who. He just kind of does this thing and he seems confident. And it's the complete opposite. I'm like freaking out half the time. I'm very anxious. Even the stuff like finances, like I suck at budgeting. I'm not good with money, and that can lead to being in tough spots. And I'll be honest. Like I've found myself with some challenges in front of me. So for me, it's just trying to, I guess, break through that wall of being prideful or being fearful, of asking people for help, or even just talking about it to relieve some of that inner, stress. Like, so that's what's been going on in my mind. Just trying to get better, man. Like, it goes back to what we've been saying throughout all 25 of these episodes. And if is this real? And if it's real, how well am I living it out to be real? So, in this area of my life, I haven't been. I don't think. So I just want to get better at that.
Yeah, man, that is very real of you. I think one of the things that's cool to encourage you is, when I look at some of this stuff, I see a guy that sort of, in the last year, has just finally sort of made some real decisions about direction right now, and because of that, it can seem like you've messed up a lot. When the truth is, that was your past. And now you've got a direction, and yeah, you got to clean up some stuff, and you got to get some stuff in order. But it's just because you know where you're going now. So. Be encouraged, man, and I think what was really interesting and cool that you said was the idea of just sharing. A lot of times people will say, well, I'm not a talker. I hear this all the time.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, man. I think there are people that are not naturally talkers, but when I see in Scripture, you got to share that stuff with each other and have people to help carry those burdens. So it's cool to hear you say that, because sometimes it does help just to say it.
You're right, and, like, it's funny because I can also get, wanting to be, in ministry and leadership. I've mentioned that before. We can tend to look and try to observe others. So, so and so, they seem to have trouble opening up. But then it's like, well, turn around and look at yourself in the mirror, man. Like you haven't been talking to people, so it's like just very convicting because it's like, man, sometimes you just need to take a step back for a minute and just assess yourself before you keep moving on with trying to love others sometimes, and it's weird, man.
Jesus said that, right?
Yeah.
He said, take the plank out of your own eye.
Yep.
Or you remove the speck from someone else. So I think that's the point of it. The point is not to not do that to other people. Just make sure that you're taking care of yourself, and like you said, looking in the mirror. That's really good.
Yep.
Yeah, man. I think that a lot of people can relate to that. Money's a weird thing.
Agreed.
Lately, just to kind of piggyback off that, and I wouldn't say it was a big deal, but money for me, those that know me, this. I don't worry about it too much. As long as I take care of my business, I'm pretty good with money. Probably because I don't. By the other side, I'm like paranoid, But last month or so, just I've had some of that, not anxiety, but some of that stuff come back, which we all get. And so it's interesting to think about that, when you actually think about money and needs and how that fits in our faith. We talked about this last night a little bit with some people. Just the idea of, man, how little faith do we have sometimes when we panic about money, for instance, and then you think about people in other countries that don't know if they're going to eat tomorrow. And I don't know. It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
It's cool, though, man. I think a lot of people will relate to that.
So, how about you? How's your week been?
Still pondering for you?
A little bit, yeah. I was kind of like...
I feel like most of the weeks have been, I wouldn't say negative, but I'm just still in that same place, man, trying to figure stuff out. And
yeah.
Had a little bit of moment. I think I share this a lot to encourage people. It doesn't matter where you're at, especially for how long you've been doing this or what position you have. You can. Shame's a funny thing, rears its head and makes you think about the past and things you do wrong, or sometimes even the past is what you did yesterday. I'm one of those guys that I'll do something, and I'm like, gosh, and I have really high standards for myself, and that sounds like older now, but it's also almost. It's unrealistic sometimes, and I don't have a lot of grace, and then I wonder if that affects my view of God's grace towards me and stuff. So, yeah, I wrestled a little bit with that the last couple of days, but overall, things have been okay. I've been working on being more intentional with my words. Anyone that knows me, I'm a talker. And I've just tried to not as much, not necessarily because anyone's even complained, but just to try it differently. It's interesting how you see the world, and also how much pressure I think I sometimes put on myself to carry everyone's conversations or carry everyone's stuff.
Yeah.
And I've kind of stopped doing that the last really probably 2 weeks.
Has it helped you?
Definitely, but also I think, and I'm not saying I'm going to stay here, but it's also going, well, maybe that's serving too. Like, is it wrong that sometimes I'm the guy who tries to make everyone else comfortable and connect? That's kind of a cool blessing to be in that position, to be the guy who kind of connects all the people in a group.
Absolutely.
So I may go back to that, but yeah, it's definitely less stressful. And then
no wonder why recharge too, in a way.
Yeah, and it makes sense why people don't ever want to do that. Like, it's so much easier, if I'm honest. Like, and I'm not judging anyone that does this, but for me, I'm like, I know it would be wrong, and it's selfish of me to. For me, I think it would be selfish to be quiet all the time, because then, honestly, I'm just doing it because it's easier for me. I'm not looking to love people. I'm not looking to ask questions like that, like I did to you last night, where, like, I'm the type of guy, if I see you, I'm like, what's wrong, man?
Yep.
But there were times I didn't, and I was like, this feels wrong a little bit.
Yeah.
Am I really loving people?
I think that's so good, because I think that's just the responsibility of leadership in a way is like we're called to love each other, man. And what is that? Like, that means, like, sometimes that love means, not allowing somebody to be in that comfort of their own sorrow or whatever they may be, So asking somebody questions, like, it's tough. Like, it's uncomfortable, because I know, like, that's something we also discussed recently, especially with me, is, trying to step out of my box of comfort to have those tough conversations, the ones I don't want to have, to ask those questions I don't want to ask, because I know it's going to lead to a conversation I don't want to have because it's uncomfortable.
Or you just don't want to put the emotional energy in it sometimes.
Sure, yeah. Sometimes you can feel drained, but it's not about you.
Yeah.
And that's...
Yeah. Exactly. On another positive note, we just had our baptism service, so that was really cool to, like, reflect on.
Yeah, man, such a good day.
Whenever I have those, people are always like, you seem sad. And I guess I am a little, but it's more that bittersweet of, like, I was telling a guy who asked, I said, man, I feel two things. One is it puts me in this place. Or no, someone after the baptism messaged me, which is really cool because they were loving me. It's like, you're all right, man, you seem like you had something on your mind. And I said, I feel like it puts me in two places. One is I'm in this weird state of awe of, like,
what is this?
What is this? How did this happen? And, like, I'm so thankful to be a part of it. And it really makes God real. I hate using that word all the time, but just so... I don't know. Sometimes when you're in the midst of stuff, you don't see where you're at.
Yep.
Because you're always looking ahead.
That's right.
So it's kind of a time to reflect for me, to go, I remember the first year. I remember this. Or, the other one is... But overall, it's just really cool. It's a time of celebration.
Yeah.
And one other thing to share, because I think this is cool to share. So I was talking to a guy from our church, the son of one of our ladies, and he's a special needs guy. I'd say he's like 15.
Yeah.
And I think I told you this, but it was so cool. We were, like, in the pool, and he was, like, fighting me. He'd been asking me to get in the pool all day. Like, we were wrestling, not actually fighting. He kept telling me to throw him. I just love him. One of my favorite guys, kids at the church. And he was saying something. I don't know how I got onto it. And I said, well, how do you love people? Well, you love them like Jesus, is what he said, or something like that. And I said, okay, well, what does it mean to love someone like Jesus? We were just having this talk, and he said it means being nice to people. And I was like, that's really cool, man. And then he goes, wait a minute. He goes, pause. He goes, it means being nice to people even when they're not nice to you.
Man.
So yeah, man, like, I just went, that's it.
Those are the moments.
That's it, right? Like, he knows Jesus. Like, he knows that's it. We complicate things, and You know, that's love. So that was a pretty cool little moment. I had a little Kairos moment of like, faith like a child, man. Like, that's what it is to love. You know, love others as yourself. What does that mean? Be nice to them even when they're not nice to you. And I was like, man, he preached to me. You know what I mean? So that was pretty cool. Cool little moment we had.
That's awesome.
Anyway, that's all I'm doing.
That's good, man. It's good stuff today.
Yeah.
Love it.
Hey, we got a lot of questions. We may not get through all these. If not, we will move on. We will save these for the live this coming week.
All right, who wants to start this week?
I'll start.
Okay.
This is a broad question. What does a true believer look like? What do they do and say?
What does a true believer look like? The first time you ever mentioned somebody smelling like Jesus, that I didn't understand it, but now I do. It's something that I can't necessarily explain, but if this person's asking what do they physically look like, obviously there's no boundaries on that. They can be him, me, it can be, whoever. They can look however they want. But I feel like there's just this peace in them. You can just sense it. It's different. They're loving. They're kind. They take time out of their day to just do things, just to do them. It's funny. We live in an age, man, where people tend to look down on people for doing nice things because they decide to put a camera on it. But like when you see people who do these nice little deeds here and there, man, like that's just loving people, and like that's to me like that's what it looks like to be a believer, man. Like we just take time.
Yeah, I agree. What does a true believer look like? It looks like Jesus. And if you don't know what that looks like, I really do mean this. Not go read the Gospel of John or any of them. See who he is. It's a person who's made their life not about them, whose life is characterized by love, and they're not perfect, but they use their imperfections to be even more thankful to Jesus and point people to Jesus. So instead of saying take it out of this, say, yeah, thank God for Jesus, because of what he's done for me, and everything about their life is just, it's not about them. It's about, I always come back to this, it's about loving God, about loving other people. And when they love God, you're going to see them do the things, or strive to do the things he's told them to do, and fight with everything they can to not do the things he doesn't want them to do. And when they slip up, they always want to go back to him. They don't quit. And that's something too, the Bible talks over and over, persevere, keep going. It's hard. Keep running the race. And that's because it's tough, and a true believer keeps doing that, and they pick themselves back up. And what do they do and say? They speak love. It's really, it's what it is. That's the way I view it. So, and they believe in Jesus Christ and confess him. There are a lot of people in the world that love well, but love in and for itself is not the point. We love because it points people to Jesus, and because God is love. The Bible says,
Amen.
God is love. So, I don't know. It's just my thoughts. Good question.
Good. Absolutely.
And forgiving.
Ooh,
they are forgiving and seek restoration for broken people. They don't condemn them. That's the truth.
Next question is, who is your favorite woman in the Bible?
Favorite woman in the Bible. There we go. Easy one. Just because I did my first sermon in seminary, I think. I had to write one out. Esther's pretty cool. If you go read the book of Esther. I think it sounds, because she does get a lot of credit, but Mary, Jesus' mother, pretty crazy if you think about it. Go and read that story, and she just, people looked at her like she was a loose woman, or like a woman of low character, right? They knew they thought she got pregnant out of wedlock. That's what people would have thought. And she just kept walking it out, and that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. For me, it's Hannah. First, because she was the mother to Samuel. I just love her faith, man. Like, she'd been wanting a child, and just wasn't happening. And it was so interesting, because I remember reading it, and for her to just be like, listen, even when I have this child, I just want to give it to God. You know, and it's so interesting because it makes me think of all these times in my life where I go, I just want this, you know, and I'll do it for, you know, for you, God. And then as soon as it's there, I'm like, I run off with it, you know. I'm like, forget about God, you know. But she was like, she stuck with that. Like she's like, give me this child, and this child's life will be dedicated to you. And she did it. Sent him away as soon as he was possible. Boom, like old enough to do it. He was gone, doing Lord God's work. It was crazy.
Yeah,
so cool. Such a cool story. So.
I also want to add this one, even though it doesn't a specific person, but I think the Proverbs 31 woman, like the woman it describes there, gets kind of a negative connotation. They're like, she's weak, or, you know, because we're in feminism. Dude, I just think that picture of this woman is so cool. Of like, she's not weak at all. She's strong and like chooses to love and chooses to take care of her family and respects her husband and wants to be honored him regardless of. It doesn't say anything about his, you know, respectability. Just a cool picture. It's like it literally inspires me and makes me want to be the type of man that would make that type of woman proud. If that makes sense. So
absolutely.
Pretty cool.
That's good.
All right, here we go. If you have been baptized, I assume they mean water baptized too.
Okay.
But do not love others, and then parentheses, lack empathy for those in need, or indifferent or disdainful towards those who are different from you. Are you truly a believer?
So being baptized is it's an outward declaration of you, you know, claiming to be, you know, I'm all about Jesus. I want to be like Jesus. It doesn't save you. As far as being a believer, no. Being baptized, in my opinion, doesn't make you a believer.
Yeah.
Just because someone's been baptized doesn't mean that their faith is true. Which is interesting also because I know of people who've been baptized more than one time, which is fine.
Yeah, sort of as a sign of recommitment or something.
Sure,
yeah.
Exactly. So no, man, I don't think baptism, you know, being baptized defines your faith, whether that be true or not true. Like if you're a believer or you're not a believer. But it sounds like this person, you know, if they're lacking, you know, empathy for others or just, you know, struggling to love others, you know, that's, to me, you know, that doesn't sound like a believer, but it could also just be someone who just, man, like they're just immature in their faith, you know.
Preach.
And we don't know their heart, so.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Yeah, this you got to unpack this. I think you did a good job. The baptized part really has nothing to do with it. I assume maybe this is from someone that was at our baptism service, maybe. I'm not sure.
Possible.
But being water baptized really doesn't have anything to do with it other than it is, I will say this, if you're doing that and then not living or choosing to live like Jesus, that does reflect on Christ. But that's anything we do.
Yeah.
Do not love others. So, are you truly a believer? Let's unpack this. I like what you said. Is it possible for a believer to struggle to have empathy? Of course. People that struggle with, you know, they may hate that part of themselves. I know that at times I can be impatient, and I don't like that, and I'm working towards it. Doesn't mean I don't love Jesus, even though it says in the Bible, you know, love is patient, love is kind. And, but if someone literally has zero love for other people and doesn't want to do it, which those people are out there, claims to be a Christian, I've always said that any lack of love or desire to love other people is a big warning sign to me. Agreed. Especially when, again, simplify it, comes down to two things. So, lack empathy for those in need or indifferent, and that's such a subjective thing. So be careful not to judge them in a way. You know, I would encourage you, whoever's asking this question, go talk to them.
Absolutely.
Say, hey, you know, let's say you are Christian. You go to this person and say, hey, you know, you say you're with Christ, but I don't see that in your life. I don't see you loving other people. You know, this incident happened and you didn't have any desire to help. If you're not a Christian, go up to them and ask them and say, hey, you tell me that you love Jesus and you love people. That's what this Christianity is about. Well, why aren't you doing that? You know, and give them an opportunity to have that discussion with you.
Sure.
Maybe you'll be surprised, or maybe it will convict them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So either way, I think that's great.
I love it.
All right.
If someone says they are a Christian and they refuse to take communion when it's offered, what does that say about them or their heart?
This is another thing. I actually kind of respect this. The Bible says, well, one, if you're not a believer, do not take communion. In fact, the scripture also says, paraphrasing, but making sure your heart's right, that, you know, there aren't things that, you know, that you're sold out right now, that you're following him. If I see a believer not take communion and they're close to me, I'm going to ask them why. That's what I'm going to ask them. If they aren't, I'm going to trust the Holy Spirit's working on them in some way and they're dealing with something they need to repent of or something like that. But if I'm going to ask them why, so it's hard to answer that question. What does it say about their heart? It probably says there's something going on in their heart that they're concerned to take communion. But I certainly don't think it's something we should be. Communion is such a personal thing.
Yeah.
That yes, we take it corporately as a church, but that's between you and God in that moment. And
Yes.
so maybe they're searching their heart.
Exactly. I think.
I definitely think you should talk to them about it and ask them why they're not. Maybe they need to confess something.
That's good. I like that. I like what you said there because, like you said, like it's not necessarily even a bad thing if they're not.
Mm-hmm. At least in the short term, they certainly should take communion.
Oh yes.
But maybe that time, maybe they're trying to get something right, or whatever.
That's good.
Or maybe they need to have a deeper understanding of it. And, it's hard. Those type of questions are great. I really appreciate you asking, but they're hard to answer without more details sometimes. Is this someone who always refuses to take communion? Well, then we've got an issue here.
Right.
Is it someone? Do you even know they're a believer? Do they even claim to be? If a non-believer doesn't take communion, I have nothing but respect for them because that tells me they have at least enough respect for the scriptures to say,
nope, not yet.
In fact, you've heard me say this in our services. Please don't take this if you're not a
That's
believer.
right.
You shouldn't. It means something.
That's right. It's very serious.
Yeah. Wait, it's me, isn't it? Yeah, because you asked the communion one, right?
Oh, yep, you're right.
This one's kind of sounds like more of a hopeless kind of thing. But are there any guys out there that are not in a relationship with someone else and also don't want sex before marriage? It sounds like a young lady or a woman who's like, man, probably feeling a little hopeless that, the only people that want to be in a relationship with her are people in a relationship, or they want sex. And she sounds like she doesn't want that. She wants a relationship that honors God. That's what it sounds like.
Of course. I think there's people, there's men out there that are wanting to, with lack of a better word, do things right. They want to follow the process. It's interesting. I think if you spend time looking, like if you're spending all your time looking, I feel like you're going to see more negative than positive. But if you just be who you are, live out of that, and man, I feel like it just tends to just happen. It's weird. I can't explain it, but
Yeah.
To answer the question, yes, I do believe there is men out there who would like to follow the process correctly. I'm one of them.
Yeah, I was gonna say I know men. I know a lot of men that are. I certainly want to. I know a lot of men that are. And one of the things I tell people a lot is if over and over and over, you're ending up with the wrong type of person, you need to start fishing in a different pond.
That's good.
You're probably in the wrong pond. So, if you want a man who seeks God, then quit looking. You need to start looking places where there are godly men. And stop looking places trying to make godly men. You see what I'm saying? And that happens a lot. A lot of times a woman says, he's cute, I'll make him godly. No, that's not how it works. I know, I know a lot of Christians, but even in our church, there's several men, single good men. So yeah, they're out there, and I know they're battling to do it the right way. Yeah, this guy's one of them. I know a lot of other people. So, I'm not married. I'm striving for that myself. We all. The other thing I'd say is, does that mean that men? It's a tough thing. I guess I want to be real. Men are going to struggle. People are going to battle. Lust, for instance, and it's what that guy does with that. Does he honor you? Does he pray about it with you? Is he upfront? Does he, try to protect you guys from those kind of situations? And but overall, absolutely, there's guys out there like that. Change your pond. Go fish in a different pond.
Amen. Let's see. Next question we have is, how important is physical attraction in a relationship? If I like nearly everything about a person, but I'm not necessarily attracted to them, is it still okay to be with them? Or should physical attraction be a low priority when it comes to choosing a partner?
Well, I definitely don't think physical attraction should be the top priority because that's going to fade. The Bible says that. Beauty fades, right? Character lives forever, stays. So, what I counsel some of the single people in our church is, there's nothing wrong with having a list in your mind, but some of the list is already made for you. If you're a Christian, number one on the list, Christian.
Yeah, believer.
Serious follower of Jesus. Strives to do the right thing, follow Jesus. wants to be close to Jesus on their own, not to impress you,
That's right.
but because they want that for themselves. And this is either way. However, I'm going to be honest. And then underneath that, there's other principles. Are they hardworking? Let's say you're a lady. Do you trust them that they can take care of themselves, take care of the family? We're not talking about maybe they're in a hard spot. Do they have a desire to that? Do you know that? Are they kind, to others? That's going to show them. That's going to show itself to you. Do they have? Then under that, I do think there's some things that make sense to look into.
Sure.
Do they have similar interests? What are your views on church? Do they go to the church? Where are you guys at with that? But certainly, I do think physical attraction matters.
Me too.
Absolutely. If you're not at all physically attracted to someone, then don't try to force that. If you're married to them, we're not talking about that.
No,
If you're married, and that's what I'm going to say. Let me finish this. One interesting thing about about the way God designed marriage, it's a choice anyway. It's a choice to love. You can choose to love someone. And nowhere in there does it say, keep loving them, unless they get ugly. Or love them unless they become overweight. Or love them unless they're not, you find a better model or a newer model. That's the beauty of choosing. God doesn't do that to us. Jesus doesn't turn us away when we fail him or we get dirty or we gain some weight or whatever else.
Sure.
So there's a beauty in that. But, as you're courting, whatever you want to call it, and beginning to date, you certainly want to find someone you're attracted to.
Yes.
Do I think a lot of times, we said this, I've noticed it in my own life when I meet people, someone's character can make them more attractive.
Oh, absolutely.
So
I agree with that 100%.
So should it be a low priority? It should be lower than the top priorities,
Yes.
which is character, but it certainly matters. And don't feel bad that you may not want to date a certain person because you're not attracted to them. But I always say this is real talk. You ready? Non-church talk. We've told some friends of ours. Make sure that if you're holding a standard for someone, like they got to look like this way, you better be meeting that standard yourself.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I want someone that's really fit, and then you are sitting eating donuts
Snickers
every day.
bars,
Yeah,
right, yeah.
Make sure you're doing the same thing, because otherwise you're setting yourself up for trouble.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
You gotta know it's good. You gotta be realistic with yourself. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Okay. I think I meant to not make you start out with this one. This is really real, so I'll give you a preface now. This is a pretty raw question. If sexual stuff makes you uncomfortable, you may want to turn it off now, but I think it's a real question. And again, we always try to say, if the church isn't answering these questions, they're going to get their answers somewhere else.
Amen.
So, the question is, if you're married, is it wrong to use toys, and I assume they mean sexual, or do different positions in the bedroom? And then, what about if it's rough, and it says like close to rape, which I thought was...
So, can I see this card real quick?
Sure. We don't want to get too... We're certainly not going to get graphic or anything.
No. First part of that with the whole toys and different positions. No, I don't think that's wrong.
And again, they've set this up by saying you're married.
That's right, so exactly. So
we're talking about sex within the way God defines marriage between a man and a woman.
That's right. So you think about, like you said, what marriage is. So marriage is between a man and a woman, and then you think about sex inside of marriage. Well, sex is designed for marriage in the confines between a man and a woman. So when it comes to the Bible is very interesting on the topic of sex because it talks about sexual immorality. Well, it mentions sexual immorality is anything outside of that. Adultery. It doesn't mention anything like this. So if anything, it's giving you a giant palette. And that's how I look at it. It's giving you a palette to really experiment, do whatever you want to do, really. When it comes, like you said, about the rough stuff and close to rape,
That's a tough question because I could see this coming from both ways. I'm going to jump in, but I don't want you to have to deal with this on your own. So when we saw this question, we were like, okay, clearly this is going to be uncomfortable to talk about.
Sure.
But we were glad that someone felt willing to answer this.
Absolutely.
So there's really two ways to look at this last part real fast. Because I'm right on. I want to back you up on that. Is it wrong? As long as the couple, remember, what is the most important thing? Are you loving each other?
That's right.
You're submitting each other. So if one partner is not comfortable with something, you wouldn't force that on them.
Exactly.
Because that's not love.
And honestly, I think that even relates to this last
Exactly.
part. I think it needs to be consensual. I think both parties need to be okay with what's happening.
Yeah. Because that's love, right? Like, you're not going to put yourself above them. But so kind of looking at it from a condemnation standpoint, no. You guys, I'm not getting into details, but overall, in and of itself, like you said, we don't see anything prohibiting, sexual, for lack of a better word, freedom within the confines of marriage between a man and a woman. As long as both partners are comfortable and want to do that.
Exactly.
Right? And mutual submission to each other. Now, the other side of it is if someone is using this, because I just thought of this. Let's say, Lord forbid, such a situation. There's a husband doing some really, rough things with his wife.
Yeah.
And she doesn't like that. And he just forces her anyway. And so she's asking in, a way of fear of like, is this okay? Am I, she's being guilted into this. No, that's not loving.
No, that is not okay.
And that's not okay. And that is the opposite of loving. In which case, if you're involved at church, I know it's uncomfortable. I would ask him or her, or it could be her too, that you're not comfortable. If they continue to do that, that's wrong. And you need to get someone else involved and go talk to a friend or your pastor or whoever else and get them to go and have some accountability here. But yeah, overall, when it comes to your sex life within a marriage, certainly sex is a gift from God.
Yes.
We need to get rid of the shame about sex within marriage. But, everything is done in love. Yes. So making sure that you guys are communicating, that you guys are both comfortable with that. And, a lot of times what I've found is married couples aren't even comfortable talking about their sex life with each other, as we counsel people. So making sure that you have that kind of dialogue, that you can have those discussions. Not just springing something on your spouse, in the moment that could make them uncomfortable. You think that answers that?
I agree. Yeah. I think
Production crew, does that seem like an answer? Is it okay?
Good.
Yeah, you could tell we were really comfortable with that.
Yeah, I thought we handled it pretty well. I thought we did good.
All right, man, that's it for here.
Let's see. Is it possible for a husband to
lead?
Okay, sorry about that. I'll start over. Is it possible for a husband to lead and love his wife well if he's in the Word less than her? I know some spiritual disciplines come more easily than others depending on the person.
So, is it possible for a husband to lead and love his wife well if he's in the Word less than her? Yeah, because what if she... you don't want to measure amount of time in the Word. What's important is if you're a guy out there, it's important that you're in the Word. How can you spiritually lead your wife if you're not getting fed yourself? So making sure. So if you're a guy asking that and you're like, man, my wife is just a voracious reader, I'm not. Well, are you a prayer? Maybe that's your thing. Are you an encourager? Are you a leading within the home is making sure that you're creating an environment in which the pursuit of God is important and is number one, and that you're pushing and encouraging and loving your wife the way that Jesus did, and also encouraging her to pursue Jesus and your family as well. So, I think it's possible. So, but if you're the wife, be careful you're not saying, well, he's not worthy to lead me because I read 6 hours a day and he reads an hour. That you're not approaching it the right way. Because remember, the roles, you ready for this? That spiritual headship role doesn't come with a qualifier. It doesn't say if he's doing everything right, he gets to be the leader.
That's right. It doesn't change anything.
Yeah. So, certainly if your husband's telling you to worship a false god or anything like that, you wouldn't do that. I feel like we always have to say that in case someone takes it and runs off with it.
That's true, man.
But in this case, we're going to take the question as it's asked.
All right.
I don't know.
I
think it went okay. What do you got? Production people, you think it was okay? Yeah, we get it okay. We get a thumbs up.
Cool.
All right. Well, hey, we appreciate you guys so much. This was episode 25.
25.
I'm going to let them know about live this week.
Yes, so we're going to be going live this week, Thursday. Instead of 8:30, we'll be doing 9 p.m. this week because we have a special guest who has to come on at a later time because of work. So
that's August 9th at 9 p.m.
That's right. So come join us.
Wait, August 8th. I don't know how to do.
Oh, you're right. It
8th.
Is
8th. I don't know dates.
Yep.
August 8th at 9 p.m.
Yes, 9 p.m. Invite your friends. Come join us for some interaction. I'm sure we'll have some fun. Do some goofy things at the beginning like we usually do.
Yeah, and I think it's okay to say this. Our guest this week would say he is not a Christian. He's not opposed to Christianity, but he is not a Christian, so it's going to be kind of a different real talk for us.
Yes, definitely it's going to bring a different dynamic. So
it'll be interesting. It'll be cool. We like the guy. Nice guy.
Really nice guy.
And fun guy. So I hope you guys enjoy that. Anything else with that? Hey, we're trying to break the record. We need 44 at one time.
That's right. Yep. So, like I said, invite your guys' friends.
Yeah, make it a family affair. It's a fun time.
It is. It's good stuff.
Other than that, like we said before, we are The Remnant. We have a website, www.theremnant.life. If you want to donate to our ministry, we would love to have you join us in partnership like that. It's all tax deductible, and we'll get you, send that out to you. You can give at any time at www.theremnant.life/give. You can give from your phone one time or set it up as reoccurring. You saw the link at the top for Real Talk. Please make sure to hit like on this video.
Yes.
If you enjoyed this, you're at the end, hit like. I know sometimes people take that for granted. Like, hey, I liked it. They got my view. Hit like. There's a difference between 30 likes and 150, the way Facebook works.
True.
So
and share it.
Yeah, share it with your friends. Hey, interact with us in the dialogue below. We love that.
That's right. We do respond. We may not always respond in the comments directly, but whether it's a live episode or the next week recording, a pre-recorded, we're going to answer you guys.
Yeah, and sometimes we do in the comments. So.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, we hope you guys have a great day, and God bless you.